Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at gcnlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
This is your captain speaking. Fasten your seatbelt. It's going to be a wild ride today. Obviously, Vincent's away from the mic, and he'll be back tomorrow. Today, I'll be flying solo and trying to do as much catch-up as I can. If you're at my website, the financialstateoftheunion.com, on the news tab, you'll notice that there is a post, but it doesn't have the usual news links. That's because I have on the order of 200 of them, and I just don't have that post ready for today's show, and I'll get to it as quickly as I can. But today I'll be, flying through my notes in a more random order than usual. As you know, I usually have things categorized so that we can keep track better of where we are. That won't be happening today. And I do want to, there's one link there in the post for the Hear the Watchman Conference, which I'll be speaking at the end of the month. There are still some tickets left, and if you use the code Regan, R-A-G-A-N, you can get $20 off the tickets. If you can't make it there live, the next best thing is the streaming option. Right now you can get that for $39, and using the coupon code Regan5, R-A-G-A-N, and the numeral 5, you can get 5% off of that. And in addition to the live streaming, you get to watch again for 30 days after the conference. So it's a very good deal, excellent speakers, and all of that's available at the Hear the Watchman link that's there, or you can go directly to their website, hearthewatchman.com. And wow, I mean, so much going on. It was rather surprising to to see the news breaking over the weekend. And these are not going to be links once I get the post up. It appears that the Obama administration wiretapped Trump during the campaign, and people that are, into their 50s or 60 or better remember the good old Watergate days, which is what brought down the Nixon administration. And this is one of those things that's not going to play out quickly. It's going to get very interesting, may possibly slow down what gets pushed through Congress. We're just going to have to wait and see on that. There's also the continuing investigation into the how do you want it to describe it? You can call it the sex trafficking of young kids, pedophilia. Some people use Pizzagate, and it appears that quagmire is going to open up as well. There's rumors that Anthony Weiner is kind of like they said in the movie, singing like a canary. And the rumor is he's wanting to get citizenship in another country in exchange for this testimony. And this goes so deep because it's not just something the Democrats have been involved with. We've and it's not just the United States as well. So as they tug on the pieces of this, as the picture opens up, you'll see both Republicans and Democrats being caught up in this, as well as international politicians and celebrities. So that's going to be interesting to see the pushback on that. I'm looking at an article, Treasury Department burning through cash as debt ceiling approaches. Some sites are a little alarmist about the Ides of March with the expiration of the exclusion of the debt ceiling. We're, for all practical purposes, 20 trillion, 19.9 and change. And the government, the Congress, is going to have no choice but to extend the ceiling. They need to extend it to probably 21 trillion. That would be enough to get them through the next year. And the question is when will they do that? But in reference to the article, the Treasury Department, let's see where it is, on January 20th, had $382 billion in cash. So if you're just looking at the amount of debt, that doesn't tell the whole story. The other half is cash, and it's a very small amount in comparison to the debt. But the cash balance is now down to $109 billion. So $280 billion, more than $250 billion, has come out of our cash account, and that's the reason that you've actually seen the debt go down just a fraction while Trump's been in office. And in some of those other articles, they've talked about how once the debt ceiling gets here, then they burn through cash. Well, they've already burned through the cash, so once the debt ceiling gets here, a very short amount of time. There's some other finagling they can do. As other cash comes in, they can, for a short period of time, not apply it where it needs to go and buy a little bit more time. But it's definitely a situation where you can't go deep into the year without a resolution. If the Democrats do try to drag this out and cause the United States to default, then that would, at least in normal economic consideration, would result in interest rates going up, because that makes the U.S. debt riskier because you didn't get your money back. And the U.S. debt is considered safe anyway, because the concept is you'll get your money back, because even if they have to print dollars, you'll get something back. Those dollars might not be worth very much, but at least you'll have something to throw in your furnace and keep you warm, or use as toilet paper. It might be cheaper than the toilet paper alternative. Also saw an article on serapeptase. This is something that I've talked about before, but not in a while. It's a very interesting enzyme. This originally discovered in the silkworm. It's what the silkworm uses to get out of the cocoon. And it works on inflammation in a more natural way. And also dissolves non-living tissue. So things like cysts and blood clots, clears that type of thing out. And what I found interesting when I started looking at this was that it also works on animals. So you'll see dogs, cats, horses responding to this as well. And when you're working with animals, they don't have the placebo effect that humans do. So it helps to confirm the effectiveness of something. There was a lot of work done by a doctor in Germany. And if you want to read some more information on it, there's a website, serapeptase.info, and that's spelled SERRAPEPTASE. And you can spend a little bit of time on that site seeing the advantages. We started using it about, I'd say, 2005. And at the time, Becky had quite a few cysts in her breast. This is John Regan at the controls today. And before the break, we were talking about how my wife suffered from having several cysts in her breast. And you might know somebody that has a similar problem. And what our experience was with serapeptase, one of these cysts was the size of a chicken egg, so quite large. And when she'd go for her annual exam, she'd have to go in, get a needle biopsy, and getting a needle stuck into you anywhere is not pleasant to begin with. So we started on the serapeptase, and within a couple of weeks, couldn't really find the small ones anymore. The large one got down probably about the size of an olive, and it's now become a non-issue. Of course, I'll help make sure that there's no cysts there. Honey, it's for your health. It's medical purposes. And I know I just checked 5 minutes ago, but I want to play it safe. So, serapeptase is good stuff. Let's see. Pope Francis is urging us to have fewer children. He wants the rest of the world to do like China used to do, have a one-child policy, which now China's backed off of because they're experiencing the same population decline that most of the rest of the world is. This Pope is such a disaster. Calling him a Marxist Pope is not an understatement. Probably a year or two ago, had the article where he went on a visit back to South America, and he was shown this work of art where Jesus was crucified on the hammer and sickle of communism. and he's just smiling. More recently, he had one of the so-called experts in on climate change, and he was going to have the guy that leads the other side saying that it's a bunch of you know what. And once he had the climate change, big government type in, he canceled the meeting with the other guys. So that's why the Catholic Church is now pushing the globalist agenda of climate change. And with this new urging, this would just accelerate the problem we have with the demographics, having fewer and fewer young people to take care of an aging population, which would further cause more financial strain. And we're going to see a lot more hit this year. And I hope I get to it. Like I said, there's a lot of posts for today, and they're, like I said, not in the order, not categorized. So, but I've got one where Bank of America is suggesting that we're going to see big declines in the second half of this year, which seems like somebody has been talking about that for a few years now. Okay. Facebook launches artificial intelligence technology to identify users who are showing signs of suicide. And while that is not necessarily a bad thing, we've had instances of young people committing suicide on Facebook live streaming, and anything that we can do to help in that regard is obviously a good thing. But if the artificial intelligence is good enough to identify that, it's good enough to identify somebody that doesn't like what the government's doing and alert. In fact, there was an article I saw today with an IBM patent that we'll talk about after the break. Vincent will be back tomorrow. This is John Regan sitting in, interviewing myself today. The Me, Myself, and I show. Before the break, we were talking about another news item that's not going to be in today's post. I'm actually going to have it for next week, but I was going through the news, just looking at headlines this morning. So I was trying to get the post done. IBM has patented a technology that will monitor your electronic communications in real time and change words or call police when you transmit fake news. That's the headline of the article, and this actually took me on a few-minute side trip. This is one of those things to me that's so sensational. When you see that, it's to me it raises a flag that this could be literally fake news. But I went in there, I clicked the link for the patent, and the website looked a little less than what I would expect from a government website. So I actually dug deeper, and going to the, even though the URL looked appropriate in my browser, I went to the main Patent and Trademark Office page and got to the link for this area, and it was the right website. Entered the patent number in myself, and this patent does come up. Now, from the patent side of this, it doesn't talk about fake news. It talks about phone scams. And while that would be, the good side of the force, the dark side is fake news or, uh, yeah, like I say, anything else that the government doesn't like. You be monitored in real time and actions taken. It's a scary technology, and that's made available. And of course, with IBM, that would be backed up with their Watson artificial intelligence technology. So just wait until they get the neural implants done, and they know your every thought. Oh, let's see. Looking on the financial side of things, there's so much that we see from the market, and of course, those in the so-called mainstream, they look at the main market indices, and hey, the market's up, everything's great, go to sleep. And when you look behind that, the PE ratio, the profit to earnings, are just so outrageously high. It means that the stocks are overbought. We've not seen this type of situation where you have the price just skyrocketing, earnings have been flat, and that just doesn't end well. And when you look at the charts, you can look through history and you can see where the price goes up, and then there's the big correction, and the price goes up, there's a big correction, the price goes up, and of course this time it's going to be different, so they say, but looking at history, when you see those corrections, quite often, especially looking at the last couple, comparing those to where we are today, we would probably expect at least a 50% reduction from where we are. And that hurts. I remember back in 2007, or actually, 2008, after we had the correction then, one of the people I was working with that had been there some time and had a 401k was on the phone with somebody talking about how her 401k is now 50% less. And that's, it's not a good situation to be in. Unfortunately, a lot more people are going to be in that situation. I've seen several other analysts say that the correction could be 70%, and even one analyst 90%, and and definitely all of those are possible, and we'll see probably sooner rather than later what happens there. In addition to the debt ceiling getting here on the Ides of March, we're also having a Fed meeting. And they're now saying it's like a 95% chance they'll increase interest rates this month. That further puts a drag on the economy and also makes borrowing more expensive. But as interest rates go up, and right now they're going up slowly, that makes the value of bonds go down. So the pension funds are staring in the face an upcoming correction in stocks because of those being overvalued. They're looking at bonds having the value of their holdings go down because of rising interest rates. Then we also have this real estate bubble that they've managed to reinflate in just 7 years. And there's some holdings typically in real estate. And when that bubble pops, that'll go down. So all these pension funds that have problems are going to have worse problems. And we've talked about at least $8 trillion. Again, that's the present value, meaning that's what we'd have to cough up today to fully fund these funds. Otherwise, they've got to cut benefits or in the case of public pensions, raise taxes. Private pensions don't really have that option. And that brings me to another article. The Pension Benefit Guarantee Corporation is running out of cash. This guarantees the pensions of private corporations. There's millions of people involved in this. And up to now, well, it's a government corporation. It hasn't required taxpayer money. But we've got 71 penniless unions or pension funds that rely on this insurance company to support their retirees. And as it runs out of money, then again, it's cut the pensions or require taxpayer money in order to kick this can further down the road. Oh, let's look out west. We've been talking about the dam problem out there. The good news is that they've managed to get more pieces in operation. There's a hydroelectric plant in the Oroville Dam that was having severe problems, and it's now back online. Prior to that, they had to use generators from the power plant to operate the rest of the dam. So that improves the situation. However, we're looking at the damage outside of the plant. It's going to be interesting as to if there's earth shifting, which could cause big problems. And then there's that other factor that we've talked about a little bit here, and this is the article I'm on isn't the one, but I've got another article that talks about man-made processes that contribute to quakes, and loading up a reservoir is one of those. I believe it's the number 2 one. And of course, there's several dams in that area that have been loaded with the recent rains and the snow melt. And if this generates an earthquake, we could possibly see several dams having problems. Like I say, I'm thankful that I don't live in California. I really feel sorry for everybody that lives downstream from these dams. There's so little you can do in preparation, because even if you try to push it to the limit and you're all set, you've got everything of importance packed in your vehicle so that you can leave at the first sign of trouble. The problem is there's going to be so many people on the road that you can't get out quickly. And when these dam problems happen, it's not like a hurricane where you've got days of warning. And look at what happens with a hurricane. I remember when it moved to Dallas and a big hurricane was headed right towards Houston, the highways were so clogged, and this is before they decided to close down the southbound lanes and use them for northbound traffic to get even more people out. The highways were just never designed for that many people. Then you get consequences. You get people run out of gas, and they can't get gas anywhere because the gas stations have run out. And it just compounds, and we actually had more people die in the backup than we did from the hurricane. We'll be back in a few minutes. This is John Regan sitting in today, interviewing myself. And what I have next, California government buried the truth about cell phone radiation causing brain cancer. Full text, and this was they call it want secret document. Being a state document, it's not really the same type of classification as we have at the national level. Reveals how EMFs, electromagnetic fields, penetrate deeper into a child's brain. So you can get the link to that document once I get this post up. So be watching for that. I have another article, Why is the Cost of Living So Unaffordable? And it gets into how certain costs have risen much higher than GDP or wages. Healthcare is bad. College education, rents, and just to give an example here that he was giving out of healthcare, using examples from his family. In 1952, it cost $30 to have a baby in an excellent hospital. Adjusting for inflation, today that cost would be $275. And I don't know what it is, but it's definitely many thousands of dollars to do so today. And he went on to talk about how his father paid 1.8% of his wages for hospital group insurance. This is for a household of 4 kids and 2 adults. And to bring it forward, for somebody earning $1,000 a week today, the equivalent would be $72 a month, and the monthly gross income of $4,000. And I don't know anybody paying $72 a month for hospitalization now. Looking forward again on financial side, I apologize again for switching areas so quickly, but I can't sort my stack on the category. That's what I do in making the post. The stack is only sortable by time. The Fed is preparing $1 trillion in quantitative easing for the next recession, according to Deutsche Bank. And again, this is the Fed's way of attempting to kick the can down the road. I'm not surprised seeing this. And what we've learned from the last rounds of quantitative easing, for every $3 of new debt, which is what this is, they get a $1 bounce in GDP. So it's that's so bad. Having to spend $3 just to get an additional dollar into the fake GDP numbers. And I would expect that with the next round of QE, they won't even be able to get a dollar bounce for $3. It may even be $4 or $5 before they get that additional bounce. So, another one, researchers store computer operating system and a short movie on DNA. Just another area where they're finding new and inventive ways of creating computer capacity to further spy and control us. This is John Regan, and I'll see you on the other side of this news break. Welcome to hour number 2 of USA Prepares. This is your captain, John Regan. In case you're just joining us, Vincent will be back tomorrow. And if you're used to having my post up there in the financialstateoftheunion.com on the news tab, you'll have to wait a little bit. I have got just dozens and dozens of articles that I need to get put into the post. I do have a link for the Hear the Watchman conference posted along with the discount codes. With the code Regan, you can get a $20 discount on the tickets while they last. And with the code Regan5, R-A-G-A-N, and the numeral 5, you can get 5% off the live stream, which right now is just $39. I believe that's going up on the 15th, so I would not put that off. In addition to being able to watch it live, and I know some of you wouldn't be able to do that, especially on the Friday, you get access to the recordings for 30 days after the conference. So that's really a great deal. And if you can't make it live, highly, highly recommend you take advantage of the live streaming. Oh, yeah. I was an Air Force officer and, saw a lot of things done that were not necessarily good for the good working order of the military. And one of the things that has cropped up is I don't remember exactly when it was, but they started allowing females to serve aboard Navy ships. And it's not that they can't necessarily do the job, but you can't ignore biology either. And there was a Freedom of Information Act request that dug this tidbit up. It's now a record 16 out of 100 Navy women are reassigned from ships to shore duty due to pregnancy. That's 16%. And when they do that, a single transfer can cost the Navy up to $30,000 for each woman. And that starts running up to some big money pretty fast. And you wonder why the Defense Department budget is so crazy. Besides the parts that get shoveled off into black projects, which is why you never get the accounting of where money actually went. It's not that the money was lost. Just the accounting is so screwed up they can't tell you where it went to, at least publicly. And then you get items like this, which have been thrust upon the military by Congress and also typically Democrat administrations. This weakens the military, costs more, but hey, it's all part of the agenda. Oh, and we've talked about vaccines before, and there's a new study that the mercury in vaccines may be up to 50 times more toxic to the brain than mercury in fish. That shouldn't really be a surprise, at least when you have something go through your digestive system. There's the absorption process that has to go on. Your body will do what it can to mitigate what toxins it can, but it's when it's injected directly into you, bypasses all of that. Turning to employment, you have to Hand it to California. California Public University fires 79 IT workers and replaces with H-1B visa holders because, foreigners deserve the jobs more than Americans. If that's not bad enough, you go a little bit further north on the left coast. Boeing is cutting 1,800 Seattle area factory and engineering jobs. So that might affect Starbucks consumption for a bit out there. And looking at the nuclear side of things, Trump has talked about wanting to modernize our nuclear weapons, which have been languishing for a bit while Russia and China have been upgrading theirs. Well, Los Alamos expert, U.S. unable to conduct nuclear tests. Because we haven't done so in so long, you start, losing the personnel that know how to do this. You start losing the infrastructure because it hasn't been maintained. And it requires, an effort to restart. It's much like, if we wanted to go back to the moon, we kind of have to start over because nobody knows where the blueprints to the Saturn V rockets are. And so we have to totally redo the infrastructure to just have the rockets to get there. And we actually see this in a number of areas. Whether it's electrical production, and there's so many processes that go on in different businesses that when you have all this automation going on, you're laying off all these people. The human resources are considered interchangeable. You just plug in another person, to fit the hole. And even if it's somebody that has the technical knowledge, they don't know that system. Even something like computers. You can get two brand new computers that are identical and they have different personalities. And then when you build up the entire infrastructure that a company uses, even if you move to a similar company in the same genre, it's going to be different. And I learned this back when I was an Air Force officer. We go to a different base. They could have the same, aircraft, similar mission, but things ran differently, and you couldn't just implement a one-size-fits-all policy. And when you lose people like we were seeing going on in these companies, if they want to do any kind of expansion, that's going to take a learning curve. And of course, we've also got the other influences going on, the artificial intelligence and robotics, so that it eliminates even more jobs. And just in case I don't get to the articles, I think it's more at the bottom of the stack. Wendy's is rolling out 1,000 new kiosks at stores, so that you don't need that person sitting there to order. And McDonald's is even going through gyrations to try to up their sales by allowing you to order by app and just pull into a parking place and they'll bring it out to you. And they're also looking at implementing home delivery. It's it's interesting, and a lot of these will, while it may still be done with people right now, as they get these delivery drones up and going, you can expect to see those jobs go away as well. And I don't think the delivery drones care about being tipped either. So, more sad news: mysterious cancer killing sea lions along the U.S. West Coast. Bones turning to mush. Inside, there's just masses of yellow cancerous tissue. Animals dying at alarming rates. That came from ENA News. Fukushima continuing to have its impact along our West Coast. Also see what happens now that the rain is coming in off of the West Coast into California instead of having the drought. Now they got the rain, but that rain is also going to bring more radiation inland. So you look 5 or 6 years down the road, see what effect that additional radiation has on the people and animals of California. Oh, and just in time to get rid of more jobs, robots and drones coming soon to a construction site near you. So they have drones and 3D printing, and all of a sudden, it's not good for American jobs, and it's not good for illegal immigrant jobs either. This is John Regan. I'll be back after the break. This John Regan sitting in today. Occasionally, some of my news items, push one of Vincent's buttons, and we don't get to as many articles as we'd like. And even without that happening, there's so much more going on, and I'm again having to go through these articles in more of a date order than subject, and I do apologize for that. Just factor there's so much going on and not enough time to work on the back end of this. Switching over to insurance, the next Ponzi, $4.6 billion long-term care insurer to liquidate in Pennsylvania. It's the biggest healthcare failure ever. And we've seen a lot of healthcare insurance providers drop out of Obamacare, which is the mainstream healthcare. But to see this now happen in long-term care, it's just showing there's more cracks in the insurance system. Back to technology. We've talked about 5G. That's the next generation of wireless that we see from the cellular side of things. 4G is the current technology that we see on our phones. The 5G, we've already talked about how it's how they're going to get the Internet of Things out there. And I've got an article on other applications. One is remote surgery. Because 5G has low latency, this will, which is the lag time you get waiting for the computer, or the communications in this case. This allows a surgeon to use basically virtual reality technology in order to do the remote surgery. And that gets into other virtual type experiences, the touchy-feely internet, where you can have the experience like driving a car remotely, or riding in one, you can feel like you're going over a speed bump when you're not really there. Of course, on the more seedy side of things, that's going to translate into virtual sex. And I've actually got an article, I believe it was France, that they're renting their sex dolls. They're not even up to the sex robots yet. So if you can't afford to own one, you can rent. Self-driving cars. that the 5G, and we talked about the vehicle to vehicle, the vehicle to everything, and this is the backbone that's going to be on. Besides the cars, you'll have the drones, and even your home broadband would be 5G. And talking about not owning things, this one was so disturbing to me. I have a couple that went to a pet store, and $2,400 for a dog seems outlandish to me, but they they did that, and they financed through WAG's lending, and they thought that it was a normal debt type payment, but when they were going for a home loan, they found a $5,800 charge on their credit report. Turns out that not financing the dog, you're least. This is John Regan sitting in for both sides of the mic today. Vincent will be back tomorrow, and I'll do my best getting through the rest of these articles. Not even going to come close. We've talked about the nuclear side of war today. There's also new weapons out there, and this one is called Meet Silent Hunter, China's new armored vehicle slicing laser gun. No longer science fiction. This laser claims an output of 50 to 70 kilowatts. In comparison, the laser that's currently deployed on the USS Ponce is 33 kilowatts. And they managed to make this one smaller and lighter because they're using fiber optic laser rather than chemical. And we just get so much nicer toys to destroy things. You can imagine if this laser's powerful enough to cut into armored vehicles. Just imagine what it would do to humans. You don't really have to stop to reload, so it's just tremendous weapon of destruction, killing the soldiers and destroying tanks, missiles, aircraft, drones, ships. And I'm just so glad that I'm no longer serving and being in the front line of this. But you can pretty much rest assured that in the next wars with cyber warfare, you might have seen an article where Microsoft is calling for a Geneva Convention to quote unquote protect civilians. In the next war, there are no civilians. We're all part of the infrastructure now. And while I don't think that population is the prime target, certainly the supply chain, the production capabilities, the energy, which is required for everything, whether it's from oil, coal, nuclear, hydroelectric, taking down the grid one way or another. And that will lead to population reduction all on its own. To cheerier note, CalPERS, the California Retirement threatens to slash pension benefits by 63% for some East San Gabriel, California workers. So imagine planning your retirement based on the promises you were told, and to have nearly 2/3 of that go away. Welcome to the pension system in 2017 America. Oh boy. Oh, let's see. February auto sales. We're seeing dealers having to lease more space to place their inventory because they no longer have enough space on their main property. The days of auto inventory are almost as high as they were back during the 2008-2009 crisis. In fact, it's the highest since those days. And you have to pay attention to the inventory, because when you hear the auto sales reported in the news media, typically what they're talking about is the sales of the cars from the manufacturers to the dealers, not the sales from dealers to consumers. Oh, let's see. I guess some good news. Southwest Virginia coal industry is seeing an uptick. They have miners working 7 days a week now, and they cannot keep up with current demand. So what Obama did to the miners is being turned around, so it's good for those families. Back to China. China warns it must reallocate 500,000 unemployed workers. That's not a trivial task. And as I've talked about before, when you get these tough economic times, if the people start causing too much trouble, the governments do what they can to turn that anger outward, and that's where a lot of wars come from. And I'm won't be surprised to see that happen coming soon to a galaxy near you. Oh, digital transformation in the insurance industry. You know, we've seen jobs go away where the adjusters that come out and you know, decide how much you're going to get. Some of that's been going. And I see so many ways that that this is going to go. This article talks about the reinsurance, which gets into how they mitigate the risk for themselves. And eventually this is going to transfer over to the retail side of insurance. Because right now you have to take exams to get licensed, because you're having to comply with all these laws, and that can be so easily transferred over to an artificial intelligence that does the interview, finds out what your needs are, and then determines what type of policy you need. Let's see. This was interesting. Terrifying home surveillance video shows a woman creeping inside a home and standing over the victim while she was fast asleep on the couch. And that's basically, for me, it's a preparedness lesson. If you're wanting to protect property 24/7, you have to have enough people to do that with. And it's kind of like the larger group you have, the more you you have to devote to that. Because when you sleep, you get to a point where your brain goes into such a deep sleep, you don't know what's going on around you. And I believe it was on 60 Minutes. It was on some news magazine show where they set off the smoke alarms in the middle of the night, and this family, husband, wife, and a couple of kids, none of them woke up. They were just oblivious to it, and you know how loud and obnoxious smoke alarms are. So just keep that in mind when you're planning your preps and how you expect to keep things safe. And this woman even had a dog, which apparently didn't even do any alerting either. Not that may have awakened her. Oh, and a good one here. U.S. Mint releases new Fort Knox audit documentation. And this gets very deep and somewhat disturbing on what's been going on with America's gold and the lack of transparency as to what's there. They don't do a very big audit, so we don't know. Perhaps there are bars in these various compartments, but even if they are there, then we don't know. Are they real gold or are they gold-plated tungsten? And that's what the assaying is about. And even if all the gold is there as they claim to be, it's such a small amount that even if we attempted to go back on a gold standard, at today's price of gold, it's about in the neighborhood of $400 billion, if I recall off the top of my head. But it ends up being less than the trade deficit for 1 year. So we could not, just finance our normal trade for a year, and at that point we're bankrupt. So any thoughts of going back on that gold standard, just get over it right now. There is no way to do that without a lot of pain. And then you'd also have to transition from the type of production and trade environment that we have now. And back to the final segment. Yeah, whenever I get a call from Mrs. Finelli, I know there's a favor to ask. Vincent will be back tomorrow. Everything's fine. So we have a caller, Bob from North Carolina. Welcome to the show.
Hey there, Mr. Regan. I wanted to ask you, what's so funny all the time? You guys are always laughing, like your pension, your pension has got to be lost. Well, how is that funny?
It's it's more of the you either laugh or you cry.
I get that, but I mean, there's more inappropriate laughter and alms than Hillary Clinton, and people didn't like listening to Hillary. And you've been on the air for a while, and I guess you do these seminars. You're going to be at the Watchers. I would suggest that you practice on your delivery and stop laughing when you deliver terrible doomsday reports. And the other thing is, have you been recommending silver to people when it was 30 and 20s? Because, and have you been out of the stock market since 2009? Because if you're an advisor, you're not advising people well. They've lost a bunch of money under you because the stock market went down 50%, but then it gained 100% back. I don't think you're recommending people very well.
If you've been listening, you'd know that
I do listen.
I'm not big into gold and silver. You need to be there with food, water, and shelter.
Okay, well, you can't eat those bullets, and I get what you're saying about the food and everything, but at the same time, you should be, and I understand about the economics. I completely get it. I do day trading and swing trading. But my point is that, so many people out there who were stacking silver and got out of the stock market. We've hurt these people because of bad advice. And a lot of times it comes from the alt-right, which is, doom and gloom all the time. And you guys have this commercial that comes in about whining, quit your whining. That's all I hear is whining on your show. And then Vincent talks to a lady out in Australia. How's that helping anybody here in the United States?
The problems going on is worldwide, and been trying to point that out. If you don't see that, I'm sorry. Thanks for the call.
I do see it.
So that's you can ignore what's going on. They've kicked the can down the road. We've gone over chart after chart, and if you want to believe that it's going to be all fine, that you can just get in there and pretend that you're going to be able to have this lifestyle that we've been living the last 70 years, you're just deluding yourself. I wish there were an easy way out of this, because they've given us this humongous amount of debt. There's just no way around it. If we corrected things back in the 80s, preferably back in the 60s, it would have been painful, but not near as painful as it's coming. And once I get back on the air from the conference, I'm going to share a few things that I've got lined up that will hopefully point out how you've got this American adolescence arrogance that perhaps, and given the way that human psychology works, might not do much good, because it doesn't matter how much proof you offer. That doesn't trump belief. We see that with the flat earthers out there. No amount of proof is going to overcome that. And it's the same way I've offered this proof that there is no way that we can escape this financial problem. You can't tax enough, you can't cut enough, we can't grow enough. And the only way that we can get set is to hone our skills and be able to raise our own food, and ideally do that with a group of other people. This is John Regan. We'll see you next week.